PM Najib Razak has unveiled a raft of measures under a populist budget 2018, with an allocation of just over 280 billion ringgit to soften the blow of rising cost of living and prop up the economy. A quick look now at the economy highlights before we go into some of the key takeaways. The new budget allocation is almost 20 billion ringgit higher than last year's. Revenue is expected to be about 6% higher at almost 240 billion ringgit, while fiscal deficit is seen narrowing to 2.8% of GDP in 2018 from an estimated 3% this year. Economic growth is expected to hold fairly steady at 5 to 5.5% in 2018, compared with an estimated 5.2 to 5.7% in 2017. Inflation is expected to remain benign between 2.5 and 3.5%. Putrajaya is giving a personal income tax cut to 2.3 million taxpayers, with a 2% cut for individuals with an annual chargeable income of 70,000 ringgit and below. Najib says this will increase disposable incomes, with over 260,000 Malaysians to be exempt from paying income tax starting next year. He also announced a 12-month income tax exemption for women returning to the workforce after a break of at least 2 years, and proposed that the mandatory maternity leave for private sector to be increased from 60 to 90 days. The government will also halve the tax on rental income up to 2,000 ringgit per month from 2018 till 2020. To lower the cost of hiring domestic help, Malaysians can source for maids either directly from country of origin or online with the Immigration Department to cut out the middleman. All children born between January 1st next year and 2022 will be given 200 ringgit to be placed in a trust account called the Amanah Dana Anak Malaysia 2050. Starting next year, reading materials including magazines, comics and journals will no longer be subject to GST. However, joint management and maintenance services for strata residential buildings will be subjected to the tax, and the federal highway will be completely toll-free from January 1st onwards. As expected, the Prime Minister also announced cash handouts and special benefits for the less privileged and the civil service. For starters, Najib says BRIM will continue unchanged in 2018, with a maximum payout of 1,200 ringgit per household. The bigger winners, however, are the civil servants. Among others, they will receive a one-off 1,500 ringgit special payment. They will get 1,000 in early January and the remaining 500 towards Hari Raya. Government retirees will receive a one-off 750 ringgit, again in 2 tranches, 500 to be paid in January and the remaining towards Hari Raya. Those who retire early due to health reasons will get retirement benefits similar to their retired counterparts. Female employees who are at least 5 months pregnant will be allowed to leave work an hour earlier, while their husbands, if they work near each other, will also be allowed to do so. Meanwhile, teachers' special leave will be up from 7 days to 10 days a year. The government will set aside 2.2 billion ringgit for housing under various programs to address the lack of affordable homes. This includes a 1.5 billion ringgit allocation for Prima over 2 years to build 210,000 units priced below $250,000 ringgit. Part of the funds will also be channeled into MyDeposit program to assist prospective owners with down payments. Putrajaya also plans to extend the step-up financing scheme for Prima homes to private developers based on criteria to be set. In an email statement, CIMB Group CEO Zafrul Aziz lauded the measures and said this focus on building affordable homes demonstrate that Putrajaya is taking firm steps to address head-on the challenge of home ownership for the lower income group. Meanwhile, the Public Sector Home Financing Board or LPPSA will introduce a new policy to enable more civil servants to own a home. As for our boys in blue, they will benefit with 10,000 affordable homes which will be built under the One Malaysia Civil Servants Housing Program. The government will spend 61.6 billion ringgit on education, twice as high as the ASEAN average. 2.2 billion ringgit will go to scholarships under the Public Services Department, Higher Education Ministry and Health Ministry. 2.5 billion will be channeled to MARA and 2.4 billion to UITM. As for healthcare, Najib is planning to allocate 27 billion ringgit to maintain and upgrade facilities and to spend on medical supplies as well as medical support equipment. Meanwhile, 6.5 billion ringgit will be set aside for farmers, fishermen, smallholders and rubber tappers, and 14 billion will be allocated for the armed force. And 14 billion ringgit will be allocated for the armed forces. For more details on Budget 2018, visit theedgemarkets.com.